Well, hello. It is lovely to see you today. I hope that you are well. For those of you who are in school, I hope that's going well, that you're having fun, that you're making friends, that your teachers are teaching you wonderful things to make you think better, bigger, more wonderful thoughts. And it's really nice that you and I can still get together and have this story time that I love so much and that I hope you love too. If you remember, last time when we stopped, we were talking about Joseph. Joseph, who was his father's favorite. Joseph, who was hated by his brothers. Joseph, who got sold into slavery by his brothers. That's where we ended last time, that Joseph was taken away from his brothers, crying and calling out for help, and brought down to Egypt as a slave. So let's find out today what happened next. Joseph got to Egypt and he got sold to a man named Potiphar. Potiphar was a high official in Pharaoh's army. Pharaoh was the king of Egypt. So Potiphar was a very important man, a very rich man. He bought Joseph. He brought Joseph back to his farm and he put Joseph to work. Now, you remember that Joseph had those dreams that his brothers were going to be bowing down to him, that his parents were going to be bowing down to him. He thought his life was going to be so easy and so good that God would be with him all the time. Well, his life suddenly wasn't so easy or so good, but he still believed God would be with him all the time. And he did his work. He had a good attitude. He did what he was supposed to do, and Potiphar noticed. Potiphar started putting him in charge of stuff, and Joseph did those things really well too. Potiphar noticed that, gave him more responsibility, more things that he was in charge of. Pretty soon Joseph is running the whole farm. He was in charge of the fields and the animals and the house and the maintenance, everything that needed to be doing. Joseph was in charge. Potiphar just sat and counted his money. It was great. Now, here's the part where it gets a little creepy. Potiphar's wife thought Joseph was an awfully good-looking young man, and she wanted to play kissy-face with him. Joseph didn't want to play kissy-face with Potiphar's wife. You're not supposed to kiss someone else's wife. But she kept trying, and he kept running away. And one day, she accused him of trying to play kissy-face with her, of trying to hurt her. When Potiphar got home, his wife told him that Joseph had done this thing, which of course he hadn't done. And Potiphar just blew his top. He was so mad. He could have killed Joseph, but he threw him in prison instead. Forever. That was the plan. Joseph was going to be in prison forever. Now what's going to happen to those dreams? No one's going to bow down to him in prison. First he was a slave, then he was accused of something he didn't do, and then he's in prison. Not looking like people are going to bow down to him. Not looking like God has a plan for his life. Not looking like it's going to work out, right? But Joseph still trusted that God's promises were sure, that the God who sent him those dreams would somehow make them happen. And so he went to work all over again in the prison. And he worked really hard. And the warden of the prison noticed how hard he worked and started putting him in charge of stuff, just like at Potiphar's farm. And over the next couple of years, Joseph wound up running that prison, that he was in charge of all the other prisoners, that he took care of them, that he made sure they had what they needed, they made sure that they did their work, that they didn't run away. It was all on Joseph. Now, one day, 2 new prisoners got brought to the prison. One of them had been Pharaoh's wine taster, right? That Pharaoh would always be worried that someone was trying to poison him. So there was always a person who would drink from Pharaoh's cup before he handed the cup to Pharaoh. It was a very important job. Pharaoh's wine taster wound up in prison. Pharaoh was mad at him for something. And Pharaoh's baker wound up in prison. Well, that happens. And so Joseph took care of them. They'd been there a while, and one day he noticed that both of them looked troubled. And he said to them, "Hey, boys, what's wrong? You look troubled." And they said, "Well, we had some weird dreams." And Joseph said, "Oh, I love talking about dreams. Tell me your dreams, tell me your dreams, tell me your dreams." And so they did. The Pharaoh's wine taster went first. He said, I had a dream where a vine grew, and on the vine were 3 bunches of grapes. And I took Pharaoh's cup, and I squeezed the grapes into the cup, and I gave Pharaoh his cup back, and he drank from it, and then I woke up. I don't know what it means. I think it's important, but it's very confusing to me. And Joseph said, God just told me what it meant. And he told Pharaoh's wine taster what it meant. That in 3 days, Pharaoh would decide that he missed his old wine taster, and he would come and get him out of jail and give him his job back, and everything would be great. The wine taster was so excited. And Joseph said, when you get back to Pharaoh, will you please tell him about me? I shouldn't be here. First, I was stolen from my homeland, and then I was made a slave, and then I was accused of a crime I didn't commit, and now I'm in prison. Can you tell Pharaoh, can you get me out of here? And Pharaoh's wine taster said, of course I'll tell Pharaoh. It'll be the first thing I do. Meanwhile, the baker is jumping out of his skin because he had a dream too, and he thinks he knows what it means. And Joseph says, well, tell me the dream, let's see. The baker said, I had a dream where I had baskets on my head, 3 baskets, and in the top basket there was stuff I'd baked for Pharaoh. And the birds came and they ate the stuff out of the baskets, and then I woke up. But it's got to be the same thing, right? 3 baskets, 3 days. Pharaoh's going to give me my job back in 3 days. And Joseph listened to God for a second, and then he said, no, no, no. Yeah, the 3 days part is right. But in 3 days, Pharaoh's going to decide that he didn't like your baking very much after all. And he's actually going to send my old boss, Potiphar. And Potiphar is going to kill you. And, yeah, sorry. Well, that was kind of a downer. 3 days later, both of those things came true. The baker got taken out and killed, and the cupbearer got brought back to the palace. And as he was headed back, Joseph yelled after him, remember to tell Pharaoh about me. I will, Joseph. No, really, don't forget. People always say they will, and then they forget. No, I won't forget. You've been great. You've been wonderful. No, really, don't forget. I won't. And then he forgot. For 2 years. For 2 years, he forgot to tell Pharaoh about Joseph. For 2 more years, Joseph sat in prison, doing his work, trusting, believing that the God who made him promises would keep those promises. It's a pretty cool story, isn't it? And I hate to stop right there, but that's enough for us today. You know, I always love to hear from you. You know, I love getting things from you, pictures, ideas, suggestions. It's a wonderful thing that God has put us together. And I am delighted to be your pastor. You have a good day and a good week. And next week, together, we'll remember what happens next when the wine taster remembers to tell Pharaoh about Joseph. In the meantime, Jesus loves you. You take care. Bye-bye.